What's up, guys? So, episode 4, Shooting the Breeze. Going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. I'm going to touch a little bit on college football with the new video game coming out and some of the stuff going on in the ACC. And then, obviously, the schedule release is tonight. There's obviously been leaks. I'll touch on it a little bit here. I don't fully anticipate on going in too much depth on it, but wanted to start off by thanking those who have subscribed. We're up to 48 subscribers. Our goal was to get to within 50 in the first month. If we can get to our goal of 50 by Sunday, that would be great. We've been doing this. We've been doing this for a month now, and it's been a lot of fun doing this with my son. This is something that's been a little bit out of our comfort zone. But it's been pretty awesome for the most part. There's been great interactions on here. Guys have called me out on when I've been wrong on some stuff, but for the most part, you've all been respectful, and I appreciate it greatly. Just going into the playoffs right away, Donovan Mitchell is out tonight in Game 5 for the Cavs and the Celtics. I think that's a wrap on this series, and I think it's also a wrap for Donovan Mitchell as a Cleveland Cavalier. I think that they need to sign him to an extension this summer, and I just don't see him wanting to do that. I think he's going to either end up as a Laker or a Knick, and I think the Knicks can offer more than what the Lakers can in terms of draft capital and other assets. Maybe that means Julius Randle. I'm not sure. Especially with him coming off a shoulder injury, I'm not sure. But overall, because I don't know what you saw with the Suns, if the Knicks can afford to keep 3 max guys like that. It's tough to do now with the way the salary cap works in the NBA. So if I were the Knicks, I would probably try to move Julius Randle in that deal. And if they're not able to get Mitchell, I would assume they'll go after someone like Brandon Ingram or someone like that. Because I think the Knicks are still a player away. Brunson has shown that he can be an alpha, but I think he needs another guy as a running mate that can help him get over the top. Because I think they've sort of reached their ceiling. I do think that they're going to end up winning this series, but they've sort of maxed out. That's why I know a lot of people are bagging on Draymond Green. I think he was more saying that it's a fluke where the East is not a very strong conference. And I think that he's saying, as constructed, I don't think that this is a team that can go much further than probably the first or second round this year, where the way that it laid out for them, Philly was injured. They lost Embiid most of the year. They were able to beat Philly with Embiid, but Embiid was hobbled. And then they get Indiana after they beat an injured Bucks team in the first round. So I think it sort of worked out for the Knicks. Not bagging on them. They're going to have a chance to make their first conference final since 2000. It's a big year for if you're a New York Knicks fan. But I think that if they're able to add a Donovan Mitchell, I think that's huge. Adding someone like that with Jalen Brunson. The only problem is if you have 2 guards as your main guys, you need to have good size. Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson's knees and his feet really... That concerns me. Once those things start going down on a big man, that's sort of the end. So they need to be careful of that. Probably need more depth in terms of what they have for bigs. But as far as how the playoffs have gone thus far, I like Boston to win tonight and move on to their 3rd straight conference finals, which is awesome for me as a Celtics fan. But then I think that the Celtics and the Knicks, I see the Celtics winning that series probably in 5. Even if Porzingis doesn't play, I just think the Knicks, they don't have enough now. I think they'll steal one at the Garden, at Madison Square Garden, not the Boston Garden. I think they'll steal one, but overall, I think that the Knicks, they don't have much depth right now. They've lost Robinson, they lost Randall in January, and I know DiVincenzo's been playing well. As has Brunson's probably been the MVP of these playoffs. It's been between him and Anthony Edwards, and Brunson's been on a tear. I see in five of the 11 games he's scored 40 points or more, And if he does it again in these playoffs, he'll tie Bernard King for his record for the Knicks for most 40-point games in a playoff series, or in a playoff run. That was in 1984. So I think that the Knicks have probably reached their ceiling if they get to the conference finals, which I think they will. I think they win this series in 7. I think Indiana wins Game 6 in Indiana. The home team has won every single game in this series. The only thing the Knicks have going for them is they have an extra day off as it moves back to Indiana. The game's going to be on Friday rather than Thursday, so I think that helps the Knicks a little bit. And I think out west, I see OKC winning their series against Dallas. Luka's not himself. He had a triple-double the other night, but he's not shooting very efficiently. The offense should really be running through Kyrie Irving right now with the way Luka's playing. And PJ Washington should not be shooting the ball more than Kyrie Irving. That does not make sense. So I think if Dallas wants to have a chance to get back in this series, they need to let the offense run through Kyrie Irving. One of the main problems that I saw happening potentially with the Kyrie and Luka matchup or pairing was there's only one ball, and it's two ball-dominant players. And I think you're seeing that now. Kyrie Irving, it's tough to have him go stand in a corner, but I will say Kyrie has not been a distraction. He's been a great teammate. He's not made any sound bites that have had him become a distraction. I've been really impressed with Kyrie this season. He's been available, and he's been consistent. So I think overall, Kyrie's been very good this year. And obviously, when he's on the court, he's one of the best players in the world. That handle is incredible, and he makes some wow shots. And when he drives to the basket, it's incredible. But I think that the offense needs to flow through him if Dallas wants a chance to win this series. But I see OKC winning this. Denver, I see them closing out Minnesota in 6. I think Minnesota's out of gas, and I think that Karl Anthony Towns isn't consistent enough for Anthony Edwards. I think that Minnesota needs to find a way to get another running mate for Anthony Edwards. Guys will want to play with him. The only problem that there is do people want to go to Minnesota? And I think that was an issue that they had with Kevin Garnett. I think it was an issue that they had with Kevin Love. And they've had guys like Andrew Wiggins. They've had guys like Garnett. They've had guys, and I'm not comparing Wiggins and Garnett. I want to be clear on that. But they have a superstar now in Anthony Edwards for the first time since Kevin Garnett. Kevin Love was there, obviously. And you saw both Kevin Love and Andrew Wiggins and Kevin Garnett all leave and win championships. That can't taste good as a Wolves fan. So you got to be praying that Glenn Taylor actually moves this team over to Alex Rodriguez's group, because I feel like that group is going to try to do everything it can to put a winner on the court with Anthony Edwards. I think that the Wolves will look to add and potentially maybe even try to make a move. Do you try to move Karl Anthony Towns? Do you try to do something with Gobert? Because he won Defensive Player of the Year again, but Nikola Jokic just is dominating him. And I think that this is another situation where Minnesota's they've peaked. This is about their ceiling. So let me know in the comments what you think. Does Minnesota need to I don't want to say blow this up, but do they need to tweak this roster to try to give Anthony Edwards a chance to go further in the playoffs and give him a better supporting cast? And also, do you think they need to do it soon in order to keep him here? Because, there's a good chance he could eventually ask out. That's what's happened with all of Minnesota's stars in their existence. And, obviously this is probably... Anthony Edwards has a chance to be the best Minnesota Timberwolf they've ever had. Obviously, that's a high mountain to climb with Kevin Garnett, but and he won an MVP in 2004. He led that team to the conference finals, and they lost in 6 to the Lakers. That's the farthest the Wolves have ever gone in the playoffs. But I think that they need to do something in order to keep Anthony Edwards happy and in order to keep him in Minnesota. But I think Denver wins that series, and so I think you're going to see the Thunder against the Nuggets. In that series, I see Denver winning that in 6 or 7. I would say probably 6. I don't think OKC is quite ready to get over the hump, but I think that is the team to beat out west for years to come if they're able to keep it together. They weren't able to do it with their original big three with Harden, Westbrook, and Durant, but I think with Chet, Jalen Williams, and obviously SGA, and you got Josh Giddey. I know he's had his problems, but he's a great player as well. And the depth they have on their bench, I think that Lou Dort, OKC's going to be a problem out west for years to come if they're able to keep that group together. And it seems like a really tight knit group, and I think that that group has the potential to win a championship if they can keep it together. So I think the Celtics would win the Eastern Conference in 5 games over the Knicks, even if they played the Pacers, which I don't think will happen. But if they were to play the Pacers, I think the Pacers... I actually think the Pacers could take the Celtics 6, just because of the pace they play at is incredible. And that, the Celtics at certain times, they go on these little runs where they just sort of disappear offensively, and they play a lot of iso ball. You saw it the other night in Game 4. They play a lot of iso ball, and they slow the game down. And I don't know that they'd want to play at that pace with Indiana. I think it would be tough for them. So I think Indiana could present a challenge for the Celtics and possibly take them to 6 games. But either way, I see the Celtics winning the East no matter who comes out of that series, but I'm picking the Knicks. And then out west, I have Denver, as I said. So then I think Denver beats the Celtics in probably 6 games in the finals, and I'm a Celtics fan. I just think that Jokic and Murray is probably the best combo in the NBA right now. And Tatum and Brown, I feel like they lack that killer instinct, more so Tatum than Brown. I think Tatum, he's a little too passive at times. I think he's waited too long to get himself going in these playoffs, and it's been a little concerning. Even last game, he shot 11 of 25. I wish he was a little more efficient. He did have a good game, 30-plus points, but he just doesn't seem like himself. I'd like to see him get going tonight and really get in a groove heading into the conference finals. But I just think that the Nuggets rather, they have that championship pedigree, and I think that they're ready to repeat. And I think that they're the team to beat right now. Jokic is playing at a high level still. Murray, he still has yet to make an all-star team, which is mind-boggling to me. I don't know what the guy has to do to make an all-star team. He's one of the best point guards in the NBA, and I know there's a lot of great guards out west, but he should be an all-star. Not that accounts for much, considering the all-star game is a joke, but financially it helps him. But overall, I see the Nuggets coming out of that series in 6. Porzingis would be huge in that series. I think he would be the X factor. It would be how he would play on Jokic. So if I were the Celtics, I would even consider sitting Porzingis for at least the start of the conference finals if they want to have a chance against Denver. Porzingis, with his length and his ability to take Jokic out of the paint, I think that would be very, very important, and he would be the X factor in that series. And I think he would need to be very effective for the Celtics to win that. He's been the X factor all year, I think. He was the guy that was supposed to put the Celtics over the top, and one of the main problems that people had, and the biggest concern they had, was could he stay healthy? And in the first series, he already went out. And I think that was the main concern that people had in bringing in Kristaps Porzingis. Could he stay healthy? So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out when he does come back. But either way, I still see Denver winning the NBA title. And then in terms of the offseason, I see the Lakers trying to make a move for Mitchell, but I just don't see that happening. I'm wondering if DeMar DeRozan is the guy they go after. He's an LA guy, and I think that they need a wing. That's something that they're lacking. And so I'm wondering if DeRozan is their guy, or if they potentially try to reunite with Brandon Ingram. He was obviously a part of that Anthony Davis trade a couple of years back. And I'm wondering if, because New Orleans is ready to move on from Brandon Ingram. The problem with Ingram, he's obviously able to score, and he can be an elite scorer when he wants to be, but it's his durability that's an issue. So let me know in the comments where you think the Lakers go there, and then I think the Bulls just need to blow that whole thing up. Zach LaVine, I think, would be a perfect fit in Philadelphia. I don't know. Philadelphia is going to have to make some moves. Tobias Harris is not working. So I think it's best that he goes somewhere else. The Clippers, where does Paul George wind up? I could see him going to Orlando. I could see him going to Philly. Philly needs to add a wing and replace Tobias Harris. That's their biggest thing. That should be their main concern heading into the offseason is who's going to play that wing spot, because that's where they need the most help. They're not getting the scoring and the consistency out of Tobias Harris like they had hoped, and they got to still be kicking themselves and choosing him over Jimmy Butler. That's still a head scratcher to this day. I believe they probably would have won a title by now had they kept Butler instead of Harris. And then I just wanted to touch on also the College Football 25 video game cover. The Ultimate Edition cover dropped last week. And then this tomorrow, it's supposed to be the Standard Edition cover. It leaked today, and it looks like it's going to be Travis Hunter, Donovan Edwards, and Quinn Ewers on the cover. Ewers obviously the quarterback at Texas. Travis Hunter is the wide receiver and corner, mainly a corner, I would say, out of Colorado. And Donovan Edwards is the running back out of Michigan. Let me know in the comments how you feel about that cover. Who would you have put on it? And then who are you excited to play Dynasty mode with in that game? This was my favorite video game growing up as a kid. I was devastated when it was no longer made, when they discontinued it. I'm beyond excited to have it back. I can't wait to get into the weeds of building my own dynasty. I'll probably build with Boston College. I'll be interested to see how they've incorporated the transfer portal, NIL, and things like that into how you recruit players and try to get players in the transfer portal. How realistic is it? I think that'll be really cool. And then the gameplay especially, is it going to be just basically Madden redone? I did see that it's supposed to be 134 different playbooks. Each team's playbook is specific to them, which I think is really cool. I think it'll have a different feel every single time that you play with a different team. And I think also with different broadcasters as well, I think that's going to be a really cool, nice touch that they're adding. And I think this could be the game of the year. And I think no matter what, though, everyone's going to be disappointed. No matter what the product is, people are going to be disappointed. I just can't wait to play college football on Xbox again. That's the most exciting part. I cannot wait until that comes out in July. I believe it's July 19th. That's an exciting time to be a college football fan. And speaking of college football, there's been some news out of the ACC. Obviously, they added Cal and Stanford and SMU. And I really don't like the Cal and Stanford to the ACC thing. I know they had to go somewhere, but for Olympic sports teams to have to travel from coast to coast like that, it's not right. That's why I loved Chip Kelly's idea of college football programs being independent, much like Notre Dame. And then you build it based on, you could do regional schedules, and then you play out of your region once or twice a year. It's very simple to do, and I just think that they overcomplicate it just based on where the money is. But the ACC is in trouble, mainly because Florida State and Clemson are looking to leave, and I expect them to leave after this season, and then potentially even North Carolina. I think North Carolina and Clemson wind up in the SEC, and I think Florida State winds up in the Big Ten. I think that's where they desire to go. I don't know if the SEC is wanting to add members. Greg Sankey's been saying he doesn't, but I think it would be too intriguing to add programs like that to the conference. North Carolina mainly from a basketball standpoint, but from a football standpoint, adding Clemson would be huge. But then ESPN has a chance to either pick up or decline their option for the ACC in February of 2025. So that's coming up soon. They got to make a decision soon, and I'm feeling like they're not going to pick it up. Why would they spend all that money without a premier program in the conference? The ACC is really on life support, and I think with where the Big 12 is at, since Texas and Oklahoma left, the Big 12 is on life support. I think we're heading towards two super conferences, and then it's pretty much going to be the NFL at the college level, at the power level of college football. That's why I think moving to a Group of 5 national championship would probably be beneficial to those teams. I don't want to see a Fiesta Bowl again with Liberty playing Oregon. It's great exposure for Liberty, but then what does it do for them when they go out and lose by 3 touchdowns or more? Other than getting a payday. I think that putting the Group of 5 in its own subdivision like the FCS would be a good idea, because the FCS has its own thing, and then I think if you do that with the Group of 5 is just developing players just to be poached by the Power 4 programs now. That's what it's become. And I think that's pretty much going to be the model now. I think that the Group of 5 programs will focus more on high school recruiting, whereas a lot of the power programs are going to focus more on, they'll try to get the blue chip prospects, and then the rest of them they'll try to get from the transfer portal. I think that's how rosters will be built moving forward. And it's almost going to be the Group of 5 as a farm system for the power conferences and the big time schools. But let me know in the comments where you think the ACC is headed. Do you think that the conference is going to die like I do? Or do you think that they're going to be able to retain those schools and keep things moving? Because they're not getting, those schools are not getting the same money in the ACC that the SEC is getting from ESPN, which is why ESPN has no reason really to keep the ACC if they were to lose those premier programs. And then the Big Ten's getting big money from NBC and CBS now. So let me know in the comments where you feel college football is headed as far as realignment is concerned. And then let me know, what team are you going to play with on Dynasty mode in the new EA Sports college football game? But just wanted to jump on here and touch on some of that stuff. One final thing, the NFL is now going to have Christmas Day games on Netflix. They signed a 3-year deal. They announced that today. It's going to be, the NFL is pricing a lot of people out in terms of streaming services. There's going to be games exclusive to ESPN Plus, Amazon Prime, and Netflix now. They're asking a lot of their fans, and they have games on Peacock as well. They're asking a lot of fans now to not just have traditional cable or, cordless cable with YouTube TV or streaming like that. They're asking for other services now, and it's getting tough to be a fan now where you're having to pay all this money. So let me know in the comments how you feel about the NFL moving to all these streaming services, and I expect the NBA to do the same thing with their new television rights deal. So let me know in the comments how you feel about that. And then if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 50 by the end of this month, or by the end of this week rather. It'll be our 1 month by the end of this week. That was our goal, was to get to 50 subscribers. Our goal in total for views was to get to 500 views, and we've gotten over 16,000, which has been pretty cool. So it's been a lot of fun doing this with my son. We've gone out of our comfort zone doing this, but it's been a hell of a time doing it. So until then, keep subscribing, or keep watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can like us on Facebook at The Walsh Boys Show. Follow me on Twitter at JohnWalsh38. And you can listen to our podcast every Saturday on Spotify. The Walsh Boys Show. Leave us a 5-star rating if you could. That helps us out a lot. Keep following us on here for our shorts, and we're going to try to add more content, more longer shows and videos on here as well. So until then, enjoy the games tonight, and have a nice night.